Hello, everyone. As snow gently blankets the grounds of Sandringham House, a familiar tension fills the air within the British royal family. While the royals gather around for their traditional Christmas celebration, enjoying the warmth of the fire and the joy of a grand feast, one question lingers: where are Harry and Meghan? Yes, disinvited, cast aside, or perhaps just forgotten. No matter how you look at it, one thing is certain this year: the Sussexes are as absent from the royal festivities as they are from the hearts of the British public. Once seen as modern and relatable, ready to lead the monarchy into the future, Harry and Meghan are now more often linked with controversy and entitlement. Their absence from this Christmas gathering is just another chapter in the story of their growing distance from the royal family. Ingham's dazzling ballroom will shine brightly this year, but not with their presence. What was once a place for family unity has now become a symbol of royal resilience, standing strong against the storm of Sussex drama. Let's be honest, Harry and Meghan are not welcome at the royal Christmas. And there's good reason for it. This isn't their first time off the guest list, but it feels the most telling. Invitations to Sandringham have been sent, RSVPs have returned, and yet the Duke and Duchess of Sussex are missing. The message is loud and clear: the royal family is fed up, exhausted by the never-ending drama that trails behind Harry and Meghan. Even the king, it seems, has had enough. In a bid to keep the peace and uphold tradition, he has reportedly chosen to exclude them from this year's celebrations. You can almost feel the relief in the room when that decision was made. Finally, a Christmas without the cloud of Sussex accusations looming overhead. No more awkward glances across the dinner table or thinly veiled jabs disguised as holiday greetings. This year's royal Christmas is set to be one for the books, especially because of who won't be there. In the grandeur of Ingham's ballroom, the royal family will gather around a lavish buffet, complete with King Charles' famous roast dinner and all the trimmings. As they raise their glasses and share laughter, Harry and Meghan will likely be sulking on their couch in Montecito, thousands of miles away, both literally and figuratively, completely out of the picture. Naturally, when it comes to Harry and Meghan. When questioned about their absence from royal events, Harry and Meghan cling to their favorite excuse: security concerns. Let's not forget Harry's odd demand for his own private security detail just to attend, even though the king's protection would cover him the moment he arrived. But in the Sussex mindset, where they are forever the victims, no amount of royal protection seems to be enough. It's almost laughable. Do they really believe they're so vital, so irreplaceable, that attending Christmas dinner would require a small army of guards? Or is this just another convenient story to hide the fact that they were never invited in the first place? The royal family has smartly flipped the script on the Sussexes, addressing these so-called security concerns up front. The palace seems tired of playing this game, and who can blame them? For the first time in years, the royal family can enjoy a peaceful Christmas. Without the cloud of Sussex drama hanging over the event, there will be no tense exchanges or icy glares from across the room. Instead, Sandringham will echo with genuine laughter, the clinking of glasses, and the warmth of a family coming together. Prince William and Princess Catherine will join the festivities from their nearby home at Amer Hall, showcasing the united front that the future of the monarchy represents something Harry and Meghan will never be part of again. Princess Beatrice will also attend, her baby bump symbolizing new life and fresh hope within the royal family. Meanwhile, Harry and Meghan remain isolated, both physically and emotionally, from the very institution they once aimed to change. The irony, of course, is that in their attempt to modernize the monarchy, they've only succeeded in distancing themselves from it completely. As Harry and Meghan sit in their Montecito mansion, likely brooding over yet another royal snub, you have to wonder, how will they spin this latest exclusion? Will they release yet another complaint about being sidelined? Will they point fingers at the media, the royal family, or even the British public for their isolation? Or will they once again play the victim, framing their absence as a personal choice rather than admitting they simply weren't wanted? The truth is, the Sussexes have mastered the art of playing the victim. It's a role they've perfected over the years, portraying themselves as misunderstood, mistreated outsiders. Meanwhile, the royal family moves forward, thriving without them. In truth, it is Harry and Meghan who chose this path. They chose to burn bridges, air their grievances in public, and distance themselves from the family that once welcomed them. Now, they are facing the consequences of those decisions. This year's royal Christmas will be a celebration of tradition, family unity, and everything that Harry and Meghan have walked away from. As the royals gather around the table, toasting to another successful year and looking ahead to the future, the Sussexes will be left to reflect on what could have been. But for the royal family, their absence isn't a loss, it's a relief. The public, too, has grown weary of the Sussex saga. What began as a story of hope and modernity has now turned into a cautionary tale of entitlement, self-importance, and the pitfalls of airing private matters in public. As the royal family moves forward, more united and resilient than ever, Harry and Meghan will remain on the outside looking in, exiled from the very world they once sought to change. Their continued exclusion from royal events has gone beyond a simple family dispute. It's now a clear public statement that, despite their endless attempts to stay relevant, Harry and Meghan have been firmly pushed to the sidelines of royal life. With each major event they're left out of, like this year's Christmas celebration, it becomes more apparent that the royal family has little desire to extend even the most basic courtesies to them. The decision not to invite them is more than just a snub, it's a strong message. It's a calculated message that their importance within the institution has dwindled to near insignificance. For two individuals who thrive on public attention, this is likely the most painful form of punishment. King Charles is pulling out all the stops for his first holiday as the reigning monarch at Sandringham House. The palace halls will be filled with laughter and the clinking of glasses as family members come together for the much-anticipated celebration. But this joy won't reach California, where Harry and Meghan's absence is both obvious and intentional. For Harry and Meghan, watching the royal festivities from afar must feel as bitter as the winter cold. Their attempts to stay relevant from their Montecito mansion seem increasingly desperate, especially as the royal family shows no interest in extending even the slightest holiday olive branch. It's one thing to be uninvited. It's another to realize that no one, not even the tabloid-hungry press, seems to care anymore. The royal family's indifference is no accident. It's a deliberate move to distance themselves from the constant chaos and drama that the Sussexes bring. For Harry and Meghan, this must sting the realization that their presence, once a media sensation, now barely raises an eyebrow. It's not just exclusion, it's erasure. As the grand preparations for the holiday feast at Sandringham unfold, it's easy to imagine the scene: a majestic hall filled with laughter, the clatter of plates, and family members joyfully exchanging gifts by the Christmas tree. William and Catherine, the Prince and Princess of Wales, will surely take center stage, with their children soaking in the festive cheer. Princess Anne, with her no-nonsense attitude, will likely provide her sharp wit and steady demeanor, keeping the gathering dignified as ever. Yet the one thing missing will be any sign of Harry and Meghan, whose strained relationship with the rest of the family continues to push them further into irrelevance. What must really sting for the Sussexes is the realization that they're no longer even a topic of speculation. Once, their absence from royal events might have raised eyebrows or sparked headlines, but now it hardly registers as news. The royal family has skillfully managed to sideline Harry and Meghan without making a scene, proving yet again that they excel at playing the long game. For Harry and Meghan, this ongoing exclusion must feel like salt in the wound. Time and again, the royal family has shown that their priorities lie with the working members of the monarchy who have demonstrated their loyalty and dedication. While Harry and Meghan stew in Montecito, the royals at Sandringham will be toasting to a successful year and looking ahead to a future that clearly doesn't include the wayward couple. The contrast between their two worlds couldn't be starker. In the regal halls of Sandringham, the royal family will gather for a close-knit celebration that Harry and Meghan seem to have left behind in their pursuit of fame and independence. The image of Catherine effortlessly poised as she chats with Princess Anne and other senior royals while their children play nearby is the kind of wholesome family scene that Harry and Meghan have forsaken. It's almost as if the royal family has moved on without them, leaving them to sulk in their own choices. Self-imposed exile. One can't help but wonder what thoughts are racing through Harry's mind as he observes from afar. His ongoing complaints about security and treatment within the royal family seem increasingly out of touch with reality. At a family gathering at Sandringham, where every royal is surrounded by the king's elite security, Harry's insistence on needing special attention feels less like a genuine concern and more like an excuse to explain their ongoing separation. The real question is whether Harry and Meghan even want to attend at all, or if this constant cycle of exclusion and complaints is simply part of their long-running narrative of victimhood. As usual, the excuse of security concerns will likely be rolled out to explain their absence, but it's hard not to see through that facade. The truth is, Harry and Meghan simply aren't wanted at this royal Christmas, and for good reason. Their presence would likely only bring drama and disruption to what should be a peaceful, joyous occasion. After all, what could be more festive than a royal celebration free from the chaos associated with the Sussexes? In contrast, the spotlight will be firmly on the next generation of royals. William and Catherine's family will likely be the center of attention as their children continue to delight the nation with their innocence and playful spirits. This is a dynamic that Harry and Meghan have chosen to distance themselves from, opting instead for the bright lights of Hollywood rather than the more subtle yet powerful influence of being part of the royal family. Princess Anne, with her long-standing reputation for hard work and dedication to royal duties, serves as a reminder of the kind of service that Harry and Meghan have turned their backs on. While Anne continues to fulfill her engagements with her usual no-nonsense attitude, the Sussexes remain preoccupied with their desire for recognition and celebrity, which has only pushed them further away from the institution they once embraced. The absence of Harry and Meghan from this year's festivities isn't just a matter of distance, it symbolizes their growing separation from the values that define the royal family. Where they might have once been included, even if reluctantly, they are now simply excluded without a second thought. It's clear why their actions over the past few years reflect a departure from the sense of duty and responsibility that the monarchy stands for, and this highlights the entire saga surrounding Harry and Meghan's exclusion from this year's royal Christmas celebrations. One can't help but marvel at the absurdity that surrounds Harry and Meghan. It's as if they've become the punchline to their own tragic comedy, a self-created drama with no resolution in sight. For years, they have lived in a world of their own making, filled with grievances, deep slights, and a victimhood mentality that they flaunt like a badge of honor. Meanwhile, the world keeps spinning, and the royal family seems to have finally learned to carry on without them. The idea that Harry and Meghan would be surprised or offended by their exclusion from this year's Christmas at Sandringham is almost laughable. Their non-invitation has become so predictable that one wonders if they even check their mail for the royal invitation anymore. Let's be honest, they know just as well as anyone that their presence at such a cherished family gathering would likely be met with eye rolls and exasperated sighs from the likes of William, Catherine, and Anne. Who could blame the royals for wanting a drama-free holiday? What truly stands out is how the royal family manages to exclude the Sussexes without making a fuss about it. It's almost elegant in its execution. The royals go about their business, planning their grand Christmas feast, and somehow Harry and Meghan are nowhere to be seen. This is a masterclass in passive exclusion, something that doesn't need a public announcement but is felt all the same. Once so desperate to stay in the royal narrative, the Sussexes have become mere afterthoughts, overshadowed by the very institution they tried so hard to escape. Isn't that the greatest irony? For a couple obsessed with rewriting their own story, they've ended up being written out of the narrative that truly matters. The royal family continues on, its traditions intact and its members seemingly unfazed by the absence of two individuals who once believed they could redefine what it meant to be royal. This Christmas, as the royals gather in the opulent halls of Sandringham, the Sussexes will be worlds away both literally and metaphorically. Now, let's address the so-called security concerns that Harry and Meghan will likely use as an excuse for their absence. This excuse is becoming quite tired, isn't it? The notion that they are too vulnerable, too exposed, or too important to travel without their own bespoke security detail is frankly laughable. The royal family has its own battalion of security, ensuring that every member is well protected. Security personnel would surely have no trouble keeping two more bodies safe during a holiday gathering. Yet for Harry and Meghan, this excuse remains their go-to shield against the truth they aren't invited because no one wants them there. It's hard not to feel a little schadenfreude at the whole situation. Here we have a couple who has spent the last few years proclaiming to anyone who would listen that they are happy, independent, and free from the constraints of royal life, yet they seem utterly incapable of moving on. Their constant harping on issues like security, their fixation on their own exclusion, and their inability to let go of the very institution they claim to despise all point to one thing: they still care deeply about being part of the royal family. They crave the relevance that comes with being royal, even as they pretend to reject it. It's almost as if their quest for independence is undermined by a longing to be included in the royal narrative, a narrative they've tried so hard to distance themselves from. In this light, their absence from Christmas at Sandringham isn't just a personal setback, it's a painful reminder of the choices they've made and the distance they've created between themselves and the family they once embraced. Meanwhile, the royal family, William and Catherine in particular, seems to be doing just fine without Harry and Meghan. William, always the dutiful prince, and Catherine, the picture of grace and poise, have stepped into their roles with ease, their popularity soaring. While Harry and Meghan's continues to plummet, one has to wonder if Harry ever stops to think about what might have been had he chosen a different path. While his brother and sister-in-law enjoy the warmth and stability of their place within the family, Harry is left to stew in the chilly isolation of Montecito. And speaking of Montecito, it's hard to imagine a starker contrast between the festive joy that will fill the halls of Sandringham and whatever dismal alternative Harry and Meghan have planned. Will they even bother with a Christmas tree this year, or will they simply sit on their couch, wallowing in their own self-pity? It's almost poetic, really. Their choice to forsake the royal family for a life in the sun has left them with a holiday season that likely feels more like a chore than a celebration. While the royals toast to another year together, Harry and Meghan may find themselves isolated in their mansion, surrounded by reminders of the life they chose to leave behind, wondering if their choices have truly led to the happiness they so desperately sought. It's easy to picture Meghan furiously typing away at yet another self-indulgent memoir while Harry stares blankly at the television, his thoughts filled with what could have been. It's a sad existence, really one that they've chosen for themselves, but that seems increasingly hollow with each passing year. And what of their so-called freedom? For all their talk of escaping the oppressive grasp of the royal family, Harry and Meghan don't seem particularly free, do they? In fact, they appear more trapped than ever, ensnared in a cycle of bitterness, resentment, and self-imposed exile. While the royal family enjoys the stability and continuity that comes with being part of a centuries-old institution, Harry and Meghan are adrift. Their relevance is fading, their once bright star dimming with every Netflix special and tell-all interview that promises so much yet delivers little in the way of genuine connection or insight. Instead of forging a new path, they seem stuck in a narrative of their own making, one that revolves around grievances rather than growth. As the royals gather for the holidays, they'll be celebrating the very things Harry and Meghan have abandoned: family, duty, and a shared sense of purpose. And that stark contrast will only highlight how far apart the Sussexes have drifted from the royal fold they once called home. It's almost comical, really. For all their claims of independence and self-empowerment, Harry and Meghan seem utterly reliant on the very thing they claim to have left behind, the royal family. Without their royal connections, they are just another celebrity couple grasping for attention in a world that is increasingly uninterested in what they have to say. Their constant need to reference the royal family, to compare themselves to William and Catherine, and to air their grievances in public only reinforces the fact that they are still very much defined by the institution they claim to have escaped. As the royal family gathers at Sandringham, exchanging gifts, sharing laughter, and enjoying the warmth of tradition, one can't help but wonder if Harry and Meghan will feel a pang of regret, not for the decisions they've made, as they've made it clear they have no regrets, but for the life they could have had. A life filled with family, tradition, love, and yes, even duty. It's hard to ignore the contrast. While the royals create cherished memories in the festive atmosphere, Harry and Meghan will likely find themselves reflecting on the choices that have led them to this moment of isolation. The irony is palpable, and one can't help but question whether they will ever truly find fulfillment outside the royal sphere they've been so quick to criticize and abandon. They find themselves in a constant cycle of self-promotion, where the next interview, book deal, or Netflix special feels just out of reach, but true happiness seems to slip away. Ultimately, Harry and Meghan's journey is one of lost chances. They had the opportunity to be part of something bigger than themselves, to leave a mark on a legacy that has influenced the world for ages. Instead, they decided to forge their own path, which has taken them further from the relevance and impact they seek. Now, as the royal family moves forward without them, they watch from the sidelines. This serves as a warning for anyone who believes that fame and money can replace family and tradition. This Christmas, as they sit in their California home, far from the warmth and joy of Sandringham, maybe Harry and Meghan will see that they've been pursuing the wrong dream. Or they might choose to cling to their feelings of victimhood, believing the world is against them. Either way, it's clear that the royal family and everyone else has moved on. For Harry and Meghan, this realization might be the hardest pill to swallow. If you enjoyed this breakdown as much as I did, please hit that like button. Share your thoughts in the comments and subscribe for more royal insights. Stay tuned for updates, and remember, while the drama may go on, the royal family will always carry on.